The world of Vero was quiet during the day. Sunlight stretched across the dusty plains, touching the silver ruins that stood taller than the colony's tallest towers. The ruins were older than any history humans had written, their stone walls carved with patterns no one understood. To the settlers, they were simply a reminder that something had lived here long before them. But at night, Vero changed. When the sun sank behind the cliffs, the skies above came alive. Pale blue streaks of light shimmered like rivers of fire, spreading from horizon to horizon. The settlers called them sky veins. To them, the light was beautiful but also unsettling. Alongside the glow, faint sounds filled the air, whispers, as if voices were carried on the wind, too soft to understand yet too sharp to ignore. Most settlers closed their doors tight when the sky veins appeared. They locked shutters, lit lamps, and told stories to their children to drown out the whispers. To them, the night was a time to endure, not to explore. But Myra was different. She was a young woman of the colony, curious by nature and restless by heart. While others looked at the ruins with fear, she looked at them with wonder. She had grown up staring at the tall arches and the broken statues, always asking questions the elders could never answer. Who built them? Why were they abandoned? And why did the night bring voices from empty halls? One evening, when the sky veins began to glow brighter than usual, Myra stood outside her small home, watching. The light spread like waves across the clouds, and for a moment it almost looked like the stars themselves were moving. She felt a pull inside her chest, a quiet urge to leave the safety of the houses and step closer to the ruins. Her neighbor, an old farmer named Ryan, noticed her staring too long at the horizon. "You should get inside, child," he called softly. "The night is no friend to us." Myra smiled politely but did not move. "Don't you ever wonder what's out there? What the whispers mean?" Ryan shook his head. "I wonder, yes. But some questions are better left unanswered." His voice carried both fear and wisdom. He shut his door and left her alone under the glowing sky. The ruins loomed in the distance, half a mile away, like dark teeth biting into the heavens. Myra felt her feet moving before her thoughts had caught up. She wrapped her shawl tighter around her shoulders and began walking the narrow path that led past the colony fence. Behind her, the houses shrank into dim specks of lamplight. Ahead, the ruins rose larger with every step. The air grew cooler as she approached. The whispers seemed louder now, though still unclear. They didn't sound like language, not exactly, more like echoes of forgotten songs. A shiver ran down her spine, but it was not fear. It was anticipation. She reached the outer wall of the ruins. The stone was smooth and cold, glowing faintly where the patterns were carved. Her fingers brushed one of the markings. It tingled under her skin, as if a faint energy pulsed through it. Myra drew a slow breath. The settlers had always said the markings were dead, just decoration. But she could feel something alive within them. The ground beneath the ruins was scattered with fragments of broken pillars and slabs. Myra stepped carefully through them, following a narrow passage that led deeper inside. The night sky above poured its light into the cracks of the ancient walls, painting the place in shifting blue. Every sound echoed the crunch of her footsteps, the brush of her sleeve against the stone. And always, beneath those sounds, came the whispers. She paused, listening harder. They seemed almost closer now, circling around her. For a moment she imagined the builders of these halls, whoever they were, walking beside her. She imagined them speaking, their words carried through time, waiting for someone to hear. Suddenly, the glow of the markings grew brighter where her hand had touched the wall. A single line of light spread outward, tracing the patterns across the stone. Myra stepped back, startled, as the wall shimmered faintly, almost as if it wanted to open. Her heart pounded. No one in the colony had ever seen the ruins react. Generations had lived beside them, fearing their silence, and now she stood in front of a wall that pulsed with light at her touch. Myra's mind filled with questions. Why her? What was different about her compared to everyone else? Was it chance or something more? The whispers rose for a brief moment, as though answering her thoughts, before fading back into the night. She pressed her palm to the wall again, but the glow softened and went still, as if it had changed its mind. Breathless, Myra turned and looked back toward the colony. The homes were distant, small dots of firelight against the dark plain. If she told anyone what had just happened, would they believe her? Or would they tell her to stay away, to leave the secrets buried? She stood between two worlds, the safe, ordinary life of the settlers, and the unknown mysteries waiting in the ruins. Above her, the sky veins shimmered brighter than ever, as if urging her onward. And though the night was full of secrets, Myra knew she would return. She could not ignore the call. For the first time, she felt the ruins were not silent at all. They were waiting. The next day in the colony passed slowly, but Myra's thoughts were still locked on the glowing wall she had touched. She tried to go about her chores, helping her mother with water from the well, carrying grain sacks for the storehouse, but her mind kept drifting back to the ruins. She could still feel the faint hum under her skin, as if the stone's memory lingered inside her hand. At dinner, her father noticed her silence. "You're restless," he said, breaking a piece of bread. "What troubles you?" Myra hesitated. If she told him, he would worry. He was like the others, cautious and careful. "It's nothing," she said softly. "Just a strange dream." Her father studied her for a moment but said nothing more. Still, she knew he didn't believe her. Parents always seemed to know more than children wanted them to. When night came again, the sky veins returned, brighter than before. Their light spilled across the plains, painting the colony roofs in shades of blue and silver. Myra lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to rest. The memory of the wall glimmering beneath her hand tugged at her like a rope. Finally, she rose quietly and slipped out of the house. The streets were empty, the lamps burning low. She wrapped her shawl tightly and walked through the gate of the colony fence. The cool wind met her, carrying the faint whispers once again. This time she was not afraid. As she approached the ruins, she noticed something she had missed before, a faint path of glowing dust leading toward the archway. It was so soft that it almost vanished when she blinked, yet it guided her feet forward. The ruins stood tall and silent, but she no longer saw them as cold stone. They seemed alive, listening. When she reached the wall she had touched the night before, the markings shone faintly, waiting. Myra placed her hand against it. Immediately the light flared brighter, running along the carvings like water flowing in channels. The wall rumbled gently, a deep sound that vibrated through her chest. Her breath caught. The stone was moving. Slowly, with a sound like grinding earth, a seam appeared down the middle of the wall. The markings split apart, forming a doorway. A rush of cool air flowed out, smelling faintly of metal and rain. Myra stepped back, her heart racing. No one in the colony had ever opened these ruins. Stories claimed the doors were sealed forever, closed by builders lost to time. Yet here it was, opening for her. She hesitated, looking over her shoulder. The colony lights were far away, faint in the distance. No one had followed her. If she entered, she would be alone in whatever waited beyond. The whispers grew stronger, swirling around her ears like a song without words. They did not sound threatening. Instead, they sounded like a welcome. Gathering her courage, Myra stepped through the doorway. The chamber inside was vast and shadowed, with walls rising high into darkness. Strands of light traced across the ceiling, shifting like constellations in the night sky. The floor was smooth and black, reflecting the glow above like still water. In the center stood a tall structure, shaped like a pillar but covered in the same markings as the outer wall. Myra walked slowly toward it, her footsteps echoing. The whispers followed her, softer now, almost encouraging. She reached out to touch the pillar. As soon as her fingers brushed the surface, the entire chamber came alive. Lines of light ran across the walls and ceiling, forming maps of stars, galaxies, and paths through space. Myra gasped, her eyes wide. It was like standing inside a universe. She saw circles and symbols she didn't understand, shifting as if they were trying to explain something. She reached out again, and one cluster of stars grew larger, spinning slowly until it stopped on a glowing point. Myra recognized it. It was the star of Vera, the sun of her world. Her chest tightened. Why would this ancient place show her home? Before she could think more, a sound came from behind. A shadow moved at the edge of the chamber. Myra froze, heart pounding. She wasn't alone. From the darkness stepped a tall figure, its skin pale gray, its eyes glowing faintly yellow. It wore simple armor of smooth plates, unlike anything humans had ever built. Myra recognized the shape immediately. The Reen. Her people spoke of the Reen with caution. They were an alien race who lived beyond the colony borders, powerful and secretive. Though they had never attacked the humans, they often watched from afar. No one trusted them completely. The Reen studied her in silence, his gaze moving from the glowing maps to her small figure standing in the center. His voice, when it came, was low and steady. You opened what none of us could. Myra swallowed, her throat dry. She had no answer. The Reen stepped closer, his expression unreadable. How did you do it? I don't know, Myra whispered. It just opened when I touched it. The alien's eyes narrowed. For generations, my people have tried to break these seals. Yet they respond to you, a human. His voice held disbelief, but also a trace of something else, curiosity. Myra took a step back. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to see. The chamber lights shifted suddenly, flickering brighter as if reacting to her voice. The whispers rose again, filling the space. Both Myra and the Reen turned, listening. The sound was clearer now, almost like a warning. The alien's expression hardened. There is more here than you understand. And if the ruins chose you, he paused, then lowered his tone. Then the Knights of Vera hold secrets far greater than we imagined. Myra's hands trembled, but her resolve deepened. For the first time, she realized the ruins were not only waiting for her. They were watching everyone. And now, she was part of their design. The night after Myra first entered the glowing chamber, she could not sleep. The stars and maps she had seen still burned in her mind, brighter than any dream. She had felt the ruins come alive under her hands, and she had seen a Reen step from the shadows. His words echoed inside her, the ruins chose you. She lay on her bed, staring at the wooden beams above. She wanted to tell someone, but who would believe her? If she told her father, he would forbid her from ever leaving the colony at night again. If she told the elders, they might treat her as a danger, someone who had awakened powers they feared. So she kept silent. But outside, silence did not last. High in the cliffs beyond the colony, another figure stood watching the ruins. It was Kal, a Reen scout. His eyes glowed faintly yellow in the night, reflecting the light of the sky veins. He had followed Myra the night before, hidden in the shadows, and had seen everything: the door opening, the chamber awakening, the starlit maps. Among the Reen, such things were legends. For centuries, they had tried to break the silence of the ruins, to claim the knowledge left behind by the ancients. But every attempt had failed. Doors stayed shut, walls remained dark, and the chambers refused their touch. Yet now, a single human girl had done what their strongest minds and sharpest tools could not. Kal crouched on the cliff edge, his cloak pulled tight, and considered his orders. He had been sent to observe the humans, nothing more. The Doreen had never trusted settlers from another world. But now the ruins themselves had chosen a human. That was no small thing. If he returned to his people and told them, they would see it as a threat. They might act quickly, and not kindly. But if he stayed and learned more, perhaps he could understand why the ruins responded to Myra. So he chose to keep watching. The next evening, Myra returned to the ruins. She told herself she only wanted to look again, to be sure it had not been her imagination. Yet her heart beat fast as she walked past the colony fence, as though she knew the truth already. The doorway opened for her once more, almost as if the ruins had been waiting. Inside, the maps appeared again, glowing in gentle streams of light. She stood in the middle of the chamber, eyes wide with wonder. But this time, she was not alone. Hidden in the shadows high on the wall, Kal watched carefully. His sharp vision caught every detail: how the lights followed her hand, how the whispers grew louder when she spoke, how the chamber seemed alive in her presence. Myra whispered softly to herself, "What are you trying to show me?" At that moment, the stars shifted again. The map changed, zooming into a cluster of strange symbols around Vera's star. Lines connected it to other points, like paths stretching across the sky. Myra reached toward one of the paths, but before she could touch it, the chamber darkened suddenly. The lights blinked out. The whispers fell silent. Myra froze in the pitch-black chamber, her breath quick and shallow. "Hello," she called softly, her voice trembling. Then a faint glow appeared in front of her, not from the walls, but from a pair of yellow eyes. She stumbled back, fear gripping her chest. The tall figure of Kal stepped into the faint light, his pale armor catching the shimmer of the sky veins through the doorway. "You," Myra whispered. "You should not be here," Kal said calmly, though his voice was firm. Myra clenched her fists. "Neither should you." The Doreen tilted his head, studying her. "The ruins answer you. Do you know why?" She shook her head. "No, I don't understand any of it." For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then Kal spoke again, softer this time. "Your people fear the night. They hide when the sky veins rise. But you walk into the dark, unafraid. Perhaps that is why." Myra frowned. "It doesn't feel like bravery. I just need to know the truth." Kal gave a slight nod, as though her answer confirmed something. He stepped closer, and though Myra wanted to back away, she stood her ground. "The ruins hold knowledge older than either of our peoples," he said. "We have searched for it for centuries. But they remain silent to us. Only now, through you, do they speak. That cannot be chance." Myra swallowed hard. "Then what do they want from me?" The whispers returned suddenly, faint but sharp, curling through the chamber like wind through hollow stone. Neither human nor the Doreen could understand the words, but both felt the meaning: urgency, warning, a call not to turn away. The walls flared once more, showing the map of stars. But this time, a red mark glowed near Vera's sun. It pulsed like a heartbeat, faster and faster. Kal's expression tightened. "That is a signal. Something approaches." Myra stared at the glowing mark. "From where?" "From beyond," Kal said grimly. The chamber dimmed again, but the red mark remained, burning in Myra's memory. She felt a chill deeper than fear. It was the sense that the ruins had not shown her wonders, but warnings. She turned to Kal, her voice steady though her heart raced. "If the ruins chose me, then I have to know what they want me to do." The Doreen scout's eyes narrowed. He did not speak at once. Finally, he said, "Then I will keep watching you, human. For the night is not finished with you, and neither am I." Myra drew a sharp breath, but she did not look away. She had walked into the dark, and now the dark was looking back. The following days in the colony felt strange for Myra. She went about her chores as usual, fetching water, tending to the small garden behind her home, helping her mother mend clothes, but inside her heart was restless. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the glowing maps of stars, and that single red mark pulsing like a heartbeat. She wanted to forget, to pretend she was just an ordinary girl in an ordinary colony. But the ruins did not let her forget. At night, the whispers always returned, stronger than before, as if calling her by name. One evening, when the sky veins stretched bright across the heavens, Myra could bear it no longer. She wrapped her shawl around her shoulders and slipped out once again. The colony slept behind her, unaware that one of their own was walking into secrets they feared to touch. The path to the ruins was quiet. The air was cool, and the glowing dust along the ground seemed brighter than ever, guiding her steps. She wondered if the ruins themselves were drawing her closer, opening a road only she could see. When she reached the familiar doorway, the wall parted without hesitation, as though it recognized her. The cool air brushed her face, and she stepped inside. But this time, the chamber felt different. The main hall where the maps had appeared before was quiet and still, the lights dimmed. Yet a faint glow shimmered at the far end of the room. Myra followed it carefully, her footsteps echoing softly. At the end of the hall, she found something she had not seen before: a second passage, hidden until now. The markings along its archway glowed faintly, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Myra hesitated. Entering the first chamber had changed everything. What would she find if she went deeper? But curiosity was stronger than fear. She touched the archway, and the wall slid open, revealing a long stairway that descended into darkness. The whispers grew louder as she stepped down. They no longer sounded distant. They seemed to come from the walls themselves, rising and falling like a chant. Myra wrapped her arms around herself but did not turn back. The stairway ended in a vast chamber, larger than the one above. Here, the walls were not smooth black stone but covered in silver plates that reflected the glow of the sky veins from cracks in the ceiling. Strange machines stood in circles around the room, tall and silent, their surfaces etched with markings. Some looked like pillars, others like empty frames, as if waiting for something to pass through them. At the center of the chamber stood a wide platform. Myra approached it slowly. The surface was covered in carvings, but unlike the other markings, these were arranged in patterns that looked almost like writing. She knelt down, running her fingers across the grooves. As soon as she touched the carvings, the entire chamber awoke. Light burst across the machines, running along their surfaces in flowing streams. The silver walls reflected the glow, filling the chamber with shifting brightness. The machines hummed, low at first, then rising like a chorus of voices. Myra gasped and stumbled back, but she could not look away. On the platform, the carvings lifted into the air, forming shapes of light. They spun and wove together, creating images scenes from long ago. She saw cities made of glass towers under foreign skies. She saw ships larger than mountains, crossing between stars. She saw beings she did not recognize, tall and strange, building wonders across countless worlds. Then the images changed. The towers fell. The ships burned. A shadow spread across the stars, swallowing the light of entire worlds. Myra felt a chill deep in her bones as the whispers rose louder, almost urgent now. The vision ended with a single image, a circle of fire surrounding a small blue world. And though Myra had never seen it from space, she knew instantly it was her world. Vera. Her knees weakened. The machines dimmed, but the message was clear. Whatever had destroyed the ancients was coming again, and somehow, her people were in its path. Myra. The voice startled her. She turned quickly. At the edge of the chamber stood Kal, the Thurine scout. His cloak brushed the ground as he stepped forward, his glowing eyes fixed on the machines. "You opened this as well," he said, his voice steady but sharp with disbelief. Myra's heart pounded. "I didn't mean to." It just happened. Kal studied the platform, then looked back at her. These machines have been silent for ages. Even our greatest minds could not wake them. And yet, they answer to you. Myra shook her head. Why me? I'm not special. The scout's expression remained unreadable. The ruins disagree. He walked slowly around the platform, his gaze following the silver machines. They show warnings. Dangers. Perhaps they trust you to listen where others would not. Myra clenched her hands. But I don't understand them. You will, Kal said quietly. Or the night will make you understand. The chamber grew quiet again, the lights fading back into silence. Myra stood on the platform, her thoughts racing. She had wanted answers, but the ruins gave her only more questions and a vision that left her trembling. If the warnings were true, danger was coming to Vera. And for reasons she could not explain, the ruins had chosen her to see it first. Kal's voice broke the silence. The secrets of the night are opening, Myra. But secrets do not stay hidden forever. Others will come to claim them. Myra looked up at him, fear and determination mixing in her chest. She did not know what path lay ahead, but one thing was clear, the nights of Vera were no longer just full of whispers and light. They were full of warnings, and she was at the heart of them. The colony of Vera was peaceful on the surface, but Myra carried a storm inside her heart. Every night she returned to the ruins, and every night the machines showed her more fragments of the past, visions of shining worlds destroyed, of shadows moving across the stars. She could not forget the circle of fire closing around her own world. But she kept silent. She told no one in the colony, not even her father. What could she say? That the ruins spoke to her? That they had chosen her above all others? The settlers already feared the night. If they knew she was walking into the ruins, they would see her as cursed, maybe even dangerous. And yet she was not alone in her secret. The Doreen scout, Kal, had followed her again. He watched from the edge of the chamber, never interfering, never stopping her. But his eyes were always there, glowing faintly in the dark. Sometimes Myra wondered if he was guarding her, or studying her like a puzzle he could not solve. On the fourth night after the vision of fire, Myra entered the chamber to find Kal waiting at the center. This time, he did not stand quietly. You cannot keep this hidden, he said, his voice deep and calm. Myra stopped in her tracks. What do you mean? The ruins. The visions. They are not for you alone. He stepped closer, his cloak brushing the floor. If danger is coming, all must know. Not just a single human girl. Her chest tightened. She had feared this moment. My people won't believe me, she said quickly. If I tell them, they'll think I've lost my mind. Then show them, Kal replied. His tone was not harsh, but firm, as though giving advice to a warrior. The machines respond to you. Make them speak again, in front of others. Let your people see what I have seen. Myra shook her head. No. They don't trust the Doreen. If they see me with you, it will only make things worse. Kal studied her silently. His glowing eyes did not blink, and for a moment Myra thought he might be angry. But instead, he sighed, a sound heavy with patience. Then perhaps the question is not whether your people will believe. The question is whether you will accept what you have seen. Myra frowned. I don't understand. You doubt yourself, Kal said simply. You think the ruins made a mistake choosing you. You wonder why it was not someone stronger, someone wiser. But the ruins do not choose by mistake. Myra clenched her fists. His words cut close to her thoughts. Every night she had wondered the same. Why her? She was not a leader, not a fighter. She was just Myra, a girl who asked too many questions. I'm not special, she whispered. Kal stepped closer. Special is not the word. You are, willing. You walked into the dark when all others hid. That is enough. The chamber stirred at his words. The walls lit up once more, glowing lines racing across their surface. The whispers rose, echoing around them. Myra turned as the machines flared alive, showing the maps of stars again. This time, the vision was different. The map did not show distant galaxies or burning ships. Instead, it focused on Vera itself. The planet glowed bright in the center, and around it, faint red lines closed in, like claws reaching through space. Myra gasped. It's closer. Kal's eyes narrowed. The shadow moves quickly. The chamber pulsed brighter, and then the light shifted to Myra. It bathed her in silver glow, almost as if pointing at her. The whispers rose to a sharp cry, though the words were still beyond understanding. Kal lifted his head. It calls you. Myra's voice trembled. But what does it want me to do? Before Kal could answer, the chamber darkened suddenly. A second voice rang out, not from the machines, but from behind them. Enough. Myra spun around. Standing at the doorway were three figures, human colonists, holding lamps. At their head was Elder Bran, the leader of the settlement. His face was stern, his eyes filled with fear as they fell on Myra standing in the glow of the ruins. Myra, he said, his voice sharp. What have you done? Her heart dropped. She had not even heard them follow her. The elder stepped forward, pointing at the glowing walls. You meddle with things you do not understand. You bring danger upon us all. Myra shook her head quickly. No, you don't understand. The ruins are warning us. They're trying to help. Bran's voice rose. These stones whisper lies. They poison the night. And now they have poisoned you. Kal stepped forward, his presence tall and commanding. The girl speaks truth. I have seen the visions too. There is danger coming. At once, the colonists raised their lamps higher, eyes wide with fear. One of them whispered, Thorine. Bran's face hardened further. We will not listen to alien tricks. His gaze snapped back to Myra. You are not to return here again. Do you understand? Myra's throat tightened. She wanted to shout, to beg them to listen. But the words caught in her chest. Behind her, the chamber lights faded, as though retreating back into silence. The whispers grew quiet once more. The vision was gone, leaving only doubt in the humans' minds. Elder Bran turned sharply and motioned for the others to follow. Come, child. This place is forbidden. You will forget what you have seen. Myra stood frozen, torn between the call of the ruins and the command of her people. She glanced once at Kal, who met her eyes with steady resolve. He said nothing, but she understood the meaning in his gaze. The ruins have chosen you. The question is whether you will choose them. With her heart pounding, Myra followed the elder out of the chamber, but she knew the confrontation was far from over. Myra felt like a stranger in her own home. After Elder Bran pulled her from the ruins, the colony treated her with wary eyes. People whispered when she passed. Children who once greeted her with smiles now hid behind their mothers. Even her father looked at her differently, as though unsure whether to protect her or fear for her. She tried to explain once more at the evening gathering. The ruins showed me visions, she told them. Worlds destroyed. A shadow spreading. They were warning something is coming here. But Bran only raised his hand, silencing her. We have lived beside the ruins for generations. They have never spoken to us, and they never will. Whatever you saw is a trick, not a truth. The crowd murmured in agreement. Myra's heart sank. That night, as the colony shut itself inside, Myra sat alone on the edge of the fence, staring at the sky veins. Their blue light shimmered across her face, whispering softly like a song only she could hear. The ruins still called her, but now her people turned away. "Do you see now?" a voice said behind her. Myra turned. Kal stood in the shadows, his cloak blending with the night. His glowing eyes studied her carefully. "They will not listen," he continued. "Your people fear the night too much. Fear blinds them." Myra's throat ached. "I thought if they saw me, if they saw the visions, they would believe. But the chamber went silent when they came. It's as if the ruins want only me to see." Kal stepped closer. "Yes. And do you know why?" She shook her head. "I don't understand." For a long moment, the Thurine scout was silent. Then he spoke in a lower voice. "My people have studied these ruins for centuries. We thought knowledge could be unlocked by force, or by wisdom, or by power. We tried everything: machines, weapons, scholars. But the ruins ignored us. Always silent." Myra looked at him. "Then why me?" Kal's gaze held steady. "Because you are human." The word startled her. "What does that mean?" Kal lifted his eyes toward the glowing sky veins. "The ancients who built these halls must have known of your kind. They left something within the ruins that answers not to strength, but to persistence. Not to wisdom, but to curiosity. Humans walk into the dark not because they are fearless, but because they cannot ignore the questions waiting there. That is what the ruins see in you." Myra's heart raced. "But I'm not strong. I'm not wise. I'm just me." "Exactly," Kal said. "Your people survive not because of one hero, but because every human carries that same fire. You rise again after each fall. You search for answers even when told to stop. That is the secret the ruins recognize. That is why they chose you." Myra lowered her gaze, her hands trembling slightly. Could it really be that simple? Could persistence and curiosity be more important than power? "The ancients fell to something greater than strength," Kal said. "Perhaps they knew another kind would come, one that would not give up even when faced with shadows. Perhaps that kind was yours." The night grew quiet. Myra stared at the plains stretching out into darkness, her thoughts swirling. She remembered all the times the settlers had warned her to stay away from the ruins, to ignore the whispers, to keep her head down. But she had not listened. She had gone anyway. Maybe that was her answer. She looked back at Kal. "If the ruins chose me, then what do I do now? I can't face this shadow alone." The Thurine's expression softened, just slightly. "No one faces the dark alone. Even your people who doubt you, when the danger arrives, they will stand with you. That is also the nature of humanity." Myra felt a small spark of hope. But it was fragile, easily broken. What if they never believe until it's too late? Kal's eyes glowed faintly brighter. "Then you will believe enough for all of them." For the first time, Myra did not feel small under the vast night sky. The ruins had chosen her, not because she was stronger than others, but because she carried the same stubborn spirit all humans did. A spirit that refused to yield, even when faced with silence, even when surrounded by doubt. The whispers rose again, faint but warm, curling through the air like a promise. Myra listened, and this time she thought she understood not the words, but the meaning. The ruins were not asking her to be something she was not. They were simply asking her to keep walking forward. She stood, her shawl fluttering in the wind, and faced the glowing veins above. "Then I won't stop," she said softly. Kal gave a slow nod. "Good. Because the shadow draws closer every night. And soon, the secrets will no longer wait in silence." Myra drew a deep breath. Fear still lived in her heart, but so did determination. She would not run from the night. If the ruins had chosen her, then she would choose them in return. For the first time, the secrets of Vera did not feel like a burden. They felt like a path. And Myra was ready to follow. The colony woke to the sound of horns. It was not a sound they used often. The deep, trembling notes rolled across the plain, stirring fear in every home. People rushed outside, eyes wide with panic, searching for answers. On the horizon, dark shapes moved beneath the fading light of dawn. At first they looked like clouds, heavy and low. But as they crept closer, the truth became clear. They were not clouds. They were swarms of black forms, shifting like smoke yet alive with movement. The shadow Myra had seen in the visions was no longer just a warning. It was here. Elder Brand called for calm, but his voice was unsteady. The settlers looked to the guards, who tightened their grips on rifles and spears. But fear spread faster than orders. Myra pushed through the crowd, her heart beating hard. She had tried to warn them. She had begged them to believe. Now the shadow itself had come to prove her words true. Bran turned to her, eyes filled with something between anger and regret. "You saw this," he admitted, voice low. "What do we do?" Myra swallowed, the weight of every gaze pressing down on her. She was no leader, no soldier, no elder. But the ruins had chosen her. The visions had shown her the darkness, and Kal's words still echoed in her mind, "Believe enough for all of them." "We can't hide inside our homes," she said firmly. "The shadow feeds on fear. If we scatter, it will consume us one by one. We must stand together." Some settlers shook their heads. Others muttered, too afraid to believe. But a few nodded, their faces grim with resolve. Ryan, the old farmer, stepped forward. "The girl is right," he said. "If she was brave enough to walk into the ruins alone, then I will stand beside her now." One by one, more settlers moved closer, their fear turning slowly into courage. Not all joined, but enough did to form a wall of determination. Kal appeared then, slipping from the shadows at the colony's edge. His presence drew gasps, for many had never seen him so close. But Myra raised her hand. "He stands with us," she said. "He warned me too. He knows this enemy." Kal's glowing eyes scanned the crowd. "The shadow is not flesh," he told them. "Your weapons will slow it, but they will not end it. Only the light of the ruins can drive it back." Myra felt the ruins calling in her chest, the same pull that had led her countless nights. She knew what must be done. "Then we fight our way to the ruins," she said. The settlers exchanged uneasy looks. But this time, Bran did not silence her. He only gave a slow nod. "Lead us." The shadow reached the first line of fences. Black tendrils coiled over the wood, burning it to ash in seconds. Screams rose as the swarm pressed closer. The air grew heavy, choking with the stench of smoke and decay. Myra lifted her hand. "With me," she shouted, and for the first time her voice did not tremble. They ran as one. Farmers, guards, mothers, and children all moving toward the ruins with Myra at the front. Kal darted ahead, his cloak flickering as he cut down the nearest tendrils with weapons that glowed faintly with strange energy. The settlers fired rifles, their bullets tearing holes through the black forms, slowing them just enough. Myra's heart pounded as the ruins loomed closer. The markings glowed faintly already, as if aware of her arrival. The whispers filled her ears, louder than ever before. "Come." She reached the great arch at the center of the ruins. The swarm howled behind her, pressing closer. Settlers stumbled, some falling, but others lifted them up. No one was left behind. Together, they pushed into the ruins. Myra placed both hands on the carved stone. Light burst from the markings, racing across the walls, flooding the chamber in brilliant blue. The swarm shrieked, recoiling from the glow. The settlers gasped, shielding their eyes. Kal stood still, watching with fierce focus. "It listens to you," he whispered. The light grew stronger, flowing from the ruins into the sky veins above. The glowing rivers brightened until the whole plain was bathed in blue. The shadow writhed, twisting and folding, trying to escape the brilliance. But Myra did not stop. She pressed harder, her voice rising though she did not understand the words she spoke. They came from the ruins themselves, flowing through her lips like an old song reborn. The swarm screamed and scattered, its tendrils burning away in the light. The plains trembled, the ruins shook, and then silence. When Myra opened her eyes, the darkness was gone. The settlers stood around her in stunned quiet. The sky veins still glowed, softer now, like embers after a great fire. Ryan was the first to kneel. "She saved us," he whispered. "The girl who listened when we would not." Others followed, not kneeling, but lowering their heads in respect. Even Bran bowed his head, his pride finally broken. Khal stepped closer, his glowing eyes calm. "It is only the beginning," he said softly. "The shadow will return. But now it knows your strength. And it knows humanity will not kneel to fear." Myra's hands still tingled with light. She looked at her people, not just frightened settlers anymore, but survivors who had chosen courage when it mattered most. She felt no need for praise. What mattered was that they had stood together. The ruins whispered again, not warnings this time, but something gentler. "A promise." Myra raised her chin. "Then we'll be ready," she said. "The night may be full of secrets, but so are we." The settlers lifted their heads, their eyes steady. For the first time in living memory, the night did not belong to fear. It belonged to them. And though the long night ahead would hold many battles, Myra knew this truth: humanity's greatest strength was not power or wisdom. It was the unyielding will to face the unknown and keep walking forward. The secrets of Vera had chosen well.